Well, eat my dingus pussy, what do we have here? Yes, it's another top 10 list. We love top 10 lists because they let us know that things are ordered in the world. They have a rank, they have a purpose, they have a place, and that's why we don't have to feel guilty, but we live in a house and some people don't. So what we're going to do this week is we're going to celebrate Japanese RPGs, or JRPGs for short. We love things that come from Japan, especially video games, especially RPGs, otherwise known as RPGs. So let's count down and celebrate the top 10 JRPGs of all time. I love it. Final Fantasy's on the list. When talking about Japanese RPGs, otherwise known as Japanese RPGs, you can only ever think about Shadow Hearts. I mean, obviously, apart from the other 9 ones we've got on the list. Shadow Hearts, not including the ones that went off the rails a bit, I'm talking, of course, about Shadow Hearts 2 and 3, is a fantastic game. You get to play a guy who does punching with a thing, and you fight God or something. I don't know, I wasn't paying attention, to be honest. I should have googled it before I started. It's been years since I played it. Graphics were shit. But it was fun for a minute, so yeah, that's alright, innit? Dragon Quest is good because Dragon Quest looks like a cartoon, and I like cartoons. I watch them instead of real television because they allow me to live in a perpetual childlike state and not have to live up to the harsh, cold reality that is modern life. You know, things like acid reflux and sleep apnea and just in general being a fat, balding, horrible old man. That's why I sit around in a diaper watching things like Henry's Cat. You don't know Henry's Cat, do you? No, didn't think so. I still remember Henry's Cat. I remember they... I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. The Order 1886 is an interesting inclusion because despite being a Japanese RPG, it bucks the trend in a lot of ways. Most Japanese RPGs are like 80 hours long and feature all sorts of side quests and epic boss encounters. The Order is 20 minutes long and only has one fight to speak of, but it's still a fantastically tight bit of storytelling, the kind of epic, sweeping, epic tale that justifies use of the word epic. The Order 1886 is one of the finest Japanese RPGs of all time, and I highly recommend you play it, and it's got a werewolf in it at one point. Who can forget Final Fantasy, one of the most famous, legendary entries in the genre? This is a tale about a man who has a robotic suit, otherwise known as a nano suit, that grants him superpowers. He can do running fast, he can do jumping high, he can do punch good. It's a fantastic experience. It makes you feel powerful, it makes you feel stealthy as you run around the jungle or the city, doing punching real good and shooting with a gun for a minute. This game turned heads when it was around, and now it's not around anymore. Considered by some scholars to be the only role-playing game that's ever actually been developed, SKYRIM by Bethesda Studios is one of the finest games ever made, and even though there's some controversy over whether or not it's a Japanese RPG owing to the fact that Bethesda is based in Brisbane, Australia, it's nonetheless a moot point when you remember that the entirety of the dev team that worked on the game is a bunch of Japanese-speaking workarounds. So that really justifies its inclusion, I think, and we can all sit back and celebrate SKYRIM. SKYRIM is like Skyrim, but called SKYRIM. It's a game about dragons, high fantasy, hitting things with a sword, putting in mods so that you can look at tits, Really, it's everything that Japanese RPGs have stood for the past 56 years. And really, what other way is there to celebrate dragons and swords and tits than sitting back and playing Skyrim? It's like Skyrim. Dynasty Warriors is about leveling up an incomprehensible story, hitting buttons until everything's dead. It's the quintessential RPG experience. Again, like Skyrim, some people think that it shouldn't be included on this list, but those people can fuck off and die. Dynasty Warriors, it's a good game, and if you don't like it, you can fuck off and die. Developed by Mistwalker Studios and with a soundtrack by Nobuo Uematsu, Val Kilmer is, in many ways, a bringing together of the very best that Japanese RPGs have to offer. This man was the Batman, and you really can't dispute that, owing to the fact that it's a fact. Really, Val Kilmer, with his cheesy hair and salty lips, is everything anybody in the creative industry should strive to achieve. He's a technological marvel, bringing together the beauty of Eastern design and marrying it, in fact, to a Western aesthetic, the kind of aesthetic that you might see in Beyond Two Souls, or indeed Magic the Gathering. And it's become quite apparent that I really should start writing scripts for these. DMC Devil May Cry might be one of the most controversial games of all time. A lot of people, when it was announced, did not appreciate a remake of the Dark Souls series. They believed that DMC was a travesty, a betrayal of everything that made Dark Souls great. It ran at only 10 frames per second. It was developed by a totally outside studio, Gearbox Software, who had just come off a disastrous launch of the Slaughtering Grounds. It's really, all of that melted away, though, when you actually played it and realised, you know what, this might not be the Dark Souls we know and love, but it's still pretty good, even though the main character, Dark Souls, looks a bit emo now. He still has a red coat. He still has a sword. And really, isn't that what Dark Souls is all about when it comes down to it? Yes. Yes, it is. So don't worry about it. Gang? Well, eat my dingus pussy. Right. Well, eat my... Laughing at our own jokes, good stuff. Not even a joke, rubbish.